Considering the unprecedented nature of the draft and off-season program and camp and how you guys had to turn around the building, are you relieved, excited? How do you feel right now that the season is finally here?
Well, definitely excited, no doubt about that. But yeah, there's a little bit of, definitely relief when you think about all that's been accomplished by, every organization in this league and specifically to ours, to get to this point. There was just so much work that had to be done in such a short period of time. And now you're here on game week, and it's an exciting time. I think it's great for our league that we have great people in this league, great players, great coaches, great general managers, ownership, people that have really worked hard to get this off the ground, and we're ready to go.
Vanessa.
Hey, Coach, just thinking kind of on a big picture level, everybody around the country is so excited for this game, and it really has the opportunity to provide a semblance of normalcy. If this goes over well and the COVID numbers stay low after the game, what could this do not only for the morale, but kind of for the trajectory of the return of sports?
Yeah, I think that's, I think it's going to be a historic night for all those reasons that you just talked about. I think that, I know the NBA's done a great job. Hockey's done a great job. Baseball's done a great job. But, look, I think we all, obviously we're very biased, but football, we believe, is America's game. And I think this is the first game of just an absolutely unprecedented time, historic time, 2020 season with two great quarterbacks and, obviously last year's Super Bowl winner and our football team who's really excited to be a part of it. So I think that it will help. I think it'll help the morale, like you talked about. I think it's going to be a very it's a highly anticipated game and a lot of people are going to watch it, right? So I think that it's going to be an exciting night for everybody.
Aaron Wilson.
Bill, how you doing?
Hey, Aaron.
When you think about these two quarterbacks, guys that are really at the top of their game and obviously rewarded financially for that, what do you think about these two guys just in terms of where they stand and the kind of competitors they are, and just kind of your thoughts on both of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's an exciting time in this league. These two guys are just great players, very, very dynamic players. I think that it's always interesting how the schedules are made, that that this is the game that opens up the season, especially with what's gone on, like Vanessa just asked earlier, just what's gone on the last 6 months. I mean, it's unprecedented. And now you have this game with these two quarterbacks who have done so much early on in their careers. It's a great night for the league, and it's a great night for football.
And follow up with the roster, is it something where you'd still ideally like to have a practice squad quarterback? Is that something that you feel like is necessary? A lot of teams sometimes we're doubling up with a couple of guys, and then one team is having a guy just do it remotely. Is that something that you've thought about? And is Alex Magoo still someone that you would consider for practice squad?
Yeah, we just kind of talked about, this week is different for us, and not to speak for Kansas City, but it's different for our two teams because of the Thursday night game. So in some ways, if you rush to make a decision on practice squad, all those different things, it really doesn't help you that much this week relative to COVID testing and all those things, relative to playing a game on Thursday night. I mean, it does help you to a certain extent, but there's a lot of thought that goes into that. And so we just don't want to certainly are looking at the quarterback market and what's out there. Alex is definitely on that list. We've had great experience with Alex, really hardworking guy. So we'll see what happens here, after the game. But relative to having to get ready for a game in such a short period of time, once the roster rules are the same for the ones that open up on Sunday and Monday as they are for us, the two teams that open up on Thursday, which is that's a conversation for another time. But that's to rush in, you don't want to rush into any decisions.
Aaron Reese.
Hey, Bill, the schedule obviously is what it is, but being the first team to travel, like you've mentioned, is there any unknowns about that situation that you wish you kind of had some answers to as you head into it?
You know what, Aaron? I think if you asked me that question 2 weeks ago, I would say that yeah, there were some things, but we have received. I mean, it's got to be 40 pages worth of protocols on traveling, and basically what the NFL up to this point has done, and all the teams have done, is you've created a bubble right within your own facility. As long as your players, which our players have done a great job, and your staff has done a great job of just going from your stadium or where your facility is to home, you've created that bubble. And now with the travel protocols, you're creating another bubble, basically relative to your facility, the buses, the planes, and then the hotel, and then the stadium with which you play. I mean, I don't know if you guys, I guess you guys don't get the copy of those protocols, but I mean, it's unbelievable. It'd take you all night to read it, but it's necessary. And so, I think that with those in place, it's all spelled out. So there's no unknowns, that we all know how it's going to work. And then we'll explain that to our players, tomorrow.
Also, with the more expensive quarterback now, obviously Deshaun's cap hits and stuff don't really rise for a couple of years. But will that affect how you guys feel about trading draft picks moving forward, just in terms of how important kind of founding value is with the draft once you have a more expensive player at that position?
That's an interesting question. I mean, we will always look at each situation, unto itself, but also take into account that, draft capital and the draft is obviously a very important part of the team building process. So we'll look at both. I mean, I wouldn't be able to sit here and tell you because of these combination of contracts, we're just going to go with the draft now, or vice versa. I would say that that's a constant conversation between Jack and myself and Kevin and Matt Bazergan about, where we're headed next. But, obviously the draft's important to a team building process, and we understand that.
Greg.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Greg.
We think we've seen in training camp is the versatility on the back end of your defense. How much does that help you when guys can kind of evolve past what used to be the old school traditional roles of, he's a safety and he does this? How much does this help you when you face an offense like Kansas City, maybe particularly if they want to go hurry up and keep your defense out on the field?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. I mean, we try, when we think about our secondary, it's rare that we have guys that can only do one thing, which, if they're excellent at one thing, like say they're an absolutely fantastic outside corner, then, obviously that's what they do really well. That's what we see, and that's what we go with. But most of the time we want guys that can do different things, right? You've got a guy like Eric Murray. Eric Murray in his career has played safety. He's played nickel. He's played corner. He's been the fullback, the personal protector on the punt team. I mean, he's been on a kickoff. He's done it all. And so when you have a guy that's versatile and can do different things, and he's lined up in different places, and he's really smart, which it requires a level of intelligence to be able to do those things. And we have other guys to do that. That really helps you, right? Where guys you can plug and play. Hey, I know this role. I also know this role, and I can be this in different packages. So I think that's part of what we try to do in the secondary every year, and that's part of what we're doing this year.
Berman.
Bill, I know you like to have a routine set for the year. Does that make it tougher that the first game is on a Thursday, which is a little bit different from what you would normally have for a routine or a schedule that you have going into the season?
I kind of like it because I think it's better than if the Thursday night game, like say you started your routine for, 8 straight weeks, and then week 9 was the Thursday night game. That kind of upsets the routine that you've been in. Right now, most of our games are at noon, except for really this game, and I think one other game that's on Thanksgiving. But, so I think that the fact that this game is the first game, I think the difficulty for both teams is obviously, the Thursday night, setting the roster, all those things. We're both working at that, and that's something that's just a different type of process when your game's on Thursday relative to Sunday. But other than that, I do think that the Thursday night as an opener is good because then you can start your routine, your normal routine, the following week.
How much has the expanded practice squad helped you or is helping you?
Oh yeah, I think that's been very helpful. I know that there's some coaches that, haven't been an advocate of this, but I'm an advocate of giving guys more opportunities. I'm an advocate of developing players. And so I think I've always said if we could have a few more players on the practice squad, that would really help. Now this year it's been really good because you can have veteran practice squad players, which is really good. And, you can make a decision on Tuesday who you want to protect for the week so they can't get poached. And so I think the league's done a great job with the roster rules and the flexibility of the roster relative to COVID. But I hope it kind of stays that way the rest of the time, because I think it's a good chance to develop players and give players a shot.
John?
Bill, how is it going to be different for you not calling the plays once the game starts? And do you think you're going to miss not calling plays?
I'll be involved. I mean, I think that and John, I understand the question. And, I think that's type of stuff, I don't see that as that big of a deal. I mean, I'm still involved and I'm not going to sit there like a church mouse, during a game. So I'll be involved in, in all three phases relative to what's being called. So I don't really see that as, a huge deal.
All right, we're going to take a few questions from the Chiefs media. Soren, go ahead.
Coach, earlier, one of the things that's I think we've been leading up to is what kind of demonstrations there are going to be from the players regarding the movements that they've been involved in. You made a lot of news when you made the statement earlier that you would kneel with your players. Have you followed up with that? Is that your intention? And do you expect that to be happening on Thursday night at Arrowhead?
We've had a lot of discussions as a team, as I know the Chiefs had too. I know that I believe that players from both teams have spoken to each other about, what may or may not take place on Thursday night. I think you have two really good teams with obviously Andy, great football coach, and their team, a lot of great veterans. We have a lot of great veterans on our team. When I was asked earlier in the spring, I was asked if my players asked me to take a knee, would I take a knee in support of them? And I said I would. We haven't really gone down that road, but I've been very, very vocal as to my support of Black Lives Matter, of our players and their social justice platforms. I think that what's going on in this country right now has to be fixed, and it's been hundreds of years, but feel like this is a time where things can really change. But relative to taking a knee or not taking a knee, not sure really that's what it's all about. I think that both teams will come to an agreement here probably over the next couple of days as to what will take place, and we'll go from there.
Darren Smith.
Thank you so very much for this time, Coach. And just, I guess, a follow to what Mr. Saran had asked. When it comes to taking a knee, is it something that I guess it shouldn't really be planned, but just something that just happens instead of, making it seem like it's some sort of agreement? But then also something separate from that, with the ramp-up period, do you feel that coming in the next season, that with no preseason games, depending on how this season plays out, that you could see a scenario where come next year that there are, again, no preseason games, or would it just be a scenario where we are at a country with this COVID?
Two great questions. Okay, so I think, relative to taking a knee or whatever it is, whether it's taking a knee or, like in 2017, some teams locked arms to show their support or whatever it might be. I do believe, this is just my personal opinion relative to the team, you want to be together as a team on that. But at the same time, some of those things are very personal decisions, and so I think that again, we've had discussions about that as a team. I know the Chiefs had, again, we want to really, both teams are going to obviously focus really on the game at hand, but I'm sure that something very respectful, if anything's going to be done, will be done. This is a great league with a bunch of great players and coaches that do things the right way. So I'm sure of that. I think that I hope, as we move forward and, we get through this COVID and there is a vaccine eventually and all those things. I would hope that some of the preseason games come back. I think that the preseason is important, for rookies, for undrafted guys, for veterans, for everybody, for coaches. I just think the preseason games, whether it's 4 or 3 or 2, I'm not here to debate that, but I do think that preseason games are important. And I also hope that the spring comes back, the off-season program. That's a 9-week off-season program where you can really work with your team. But, that wasn't the case for any team this year, and so we're all doing what we need to do. But hopefully in the future those things come back. That's just my opinion.
Got time for one more. Herbie?
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time and for chatting with us. Herbie T over here with the Kansas City Star. The Chiefs utilize a lot of 12 personnel packages, which I'm sure you know. With the exception of Kelsey there, what goes into the challenges of game planning? Because they do have a lot of other offensive weapons, but yet they do incorporate a lot of the 12.
Yeah, I mean, it's a major challenge, right? I mean, you have first of all, it starts with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you have a great quarterback, and then when they're in 12, obviously Travis Kelce, and then whoever that other tight end is, both of those guys are going to be very, very good players, with Kelce being one of the best in the league. But then you have these other 2 receivers, so then you have Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, whoever it is, there's a lot of speed. There's a lot of ability on the field. And then we haven't even talked about in 12 personnel, they put that back in there that they drafted out of LSU. And now you got a lot of things you got to deal with. So, look, we're preparing. Today's a big day. Today's kind of like a Thursday of a normal game week where you're covering a lot of things, first, second, third down, a lot of special teams. So we need to have a good day today. We know they're a great team. We know it's going to be a great night relative to the league and the start of the season. We know we're going to have to play real well. We're going to have to identify personnel like you're talking about. And I know our guys are excited about that opportunity.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.